The reason that the girls you like never seem to like you back is actually incredibly simple. And it's the same reason that they end up going for other guys who on the surface don't seem to have anything that you don't. And it's not because they are better looking, because they have more money, because they have bigger muscles and they train harder and they have a better body, or even because they have more followers and more popularity than you. It's actually something much more simple. And I wish there was a better word to describe this, but it's because of the energy that you give off, the vibe that you give off. It's because of how you come across. See, the energy that you give off is most likely one of needing this person's approval, right? It's incredibly needy, it's desperate, it comes across as if you are incomplete as you are and that you need them to complete you. And generally it comes off as very insecure. And the reason for this comes down to two key things. Firstly, the attitude that you have as it relates to where you relate to other people. So you have a belief, which you probably learned quite a number of years ago, probably in childhood with your parents, that you are somehow less valuable, less worthy, and less adequate than everyone around you. And so you have had to appease and please and reach up and beg for approval from people because, again, you feel like you are beneath them in some real fundamental way. Even if that's not true, it's just your perception of that being true. And this attitude is really what causes you to come across as if you are like this people-pleasing chameleon who's wearing masks and acting as who he thinks other people want him to be, which comes off as kind of cringy and it's almost a bit repulsive, right? But then there's a second element to this, which is that you fundamentally do not know who you are without these masks. You don't know who you are when you're by yourself. So as soon as you are by yourself, you're in, a room at night all by yourself, you are consumed by this anxiety and almost this sadness because, again, you're left wondering, like, who actually am I beneath these masks? And if you don't know who you are, then being by yourself is going to be incredibly difficult because you have depended on all these masks that you wear and all these ways you come across to appease to people to derive your sense of self from. And so as soon as that's gone, as soon as any reliance on external validation is gone, you completely collapse. Now, the problem with this kind of energy or vibe that you give off, the problem with coming across as very needy and desperate is that it signals from an evolutionary perspective that you are low status, that you are someone who is not of the belief that his life is in order, that he's not of the belief that he knows who he is and where he's going. And generally speaking, this hinders the ability for these women that you're into to fulfill on their one core emotional need, which is a sense of safety and security. Because they can't have a sense of safety and security in their future, financially, in their future from the position of having a great father who's going to raise their children well, and someone who's generally going to have a good vision for their future and great leadership capacity to help guide their life forward from a place of certainty and security, because you're not giving off the general vibe and the characteristics and traits of someone who is a capable leader, who believes in themselves. It comes across as if your life is incomplete and that rather than you completing your own life in some fundamental way, which is actually a much more attractive place for someone to want to come into, you are depending on them to complete your life and complete this hole in your sense of self-worth that you carry. So now if we look at the other side, right, which is the type of guys that maybe the women that you're into end up going for and they end up choosing at the end of the day, it's not that they have anything that you do not, but they do have one thing that you don't, and that is essentially a complete sense of self. They know who they are, right? And they also have a high degree of self-worth such that they see other people and them as equal in value. Now, yes, there's the extreme side of the narcissists who are sleeping around and breaking everyone's heart, who actually see other people as beneath them, but those aren't real competition because for long-term relationships, that doesn't work. The real competition are the guys, and ultimately what you want to aim for is someone who has a complete sense of self, they know who they are, they derive their sense of self from multiple areas of their life, and they also see other people as equal in value. See, you currently, if you feel this way, you probably don't have many areas of your life that you derive your identity from. You probably don't invest too heavily into, things around your career, your relationships, friendships, hobbies, your physical health, maybe martial arts, whatever it may be. And if you do invest into those things, the problem is that you are deriving your sense of self from the results and the validation of that investment rather than from the investment itself. What do I mean by that? I mean that you are doing these things, you're investing into these things for the sake of other people approving of you. Like, for example, you're not going to the gym to become a greater version of yourself who is more disciplined, more consistent, and willing to stick things out. Rather, you're just doing it because you want to build a better body to be more confident, and so other people see you in a certain way. So you're still externalizing your self-worth to external metrics and other people, rather than actually internalizing all of this stuff and deriving a sense of self-respect from the inputs. Again, you're focused too much on the outputs and the actual results as being the thing that justifies and validates you. Whereas these other guys, they invest into all these things because that's just who they are. And it's things that they take pride in, not because of the result itself, but because of who it means that they are by investing into these things. They're great, friends, they're great partners. They are, great in terms of their career. They're invested. They know what they want. They really have clarity in their life, and they know who they are based on the things that they do. So their life feels very complete, and their sense of self is bolstered up by multiple different pillars. And so, like I've shown here, if any one of those pillars was lost, for example, if the relationship they were in was to end, or if they were to lose, something in their life, right, even their health, that they would be okay, because it's not the only thing holding them up. And it's not the surface level stuff, which is the result itself, but rather it's the person they've become through pursuing those things. And as a result of this, these guys come across as having very high self-worth. They come across as if they are complete as they are, and that anyone else coming into their life is like an added bonus. It's a sweetener. It's not something they need, it's something that they choose. And so they come across as if they are very non-needy, or they don't really need anything from you. And that's a much more attractive proposition, because if someone needs something from you, right? And I speak to so many guys who are in this position, and they don't understand why they have such terrible luck with their boss, and why they have such terrible luck in their friend groups, why they have such terrible luck with the women that they want to be with, the women that they're in relationships with. But then I ask them, has there been anyone in your life who has come at you with this complete need for your approval, this desperate energy, this desperation to have you give them your attention, and perhaps give them some kind of validation? And they go, yeah, and I didn't like that. And I actually try and avoid those people. And I say, well, exactly right. That's exactly the situation that you're in, just in reverse. So what is the solution here? The solution is twofold. One, you have to figure out who you are and start investing into things that add value to you as an individual, not for the sake of the result, but for the sake of who you become in the process. You need to derive some sort of almost self-respect and admiration for yourself, for the things that you do, for the clarity of the future that you're creating, and generally for your ability to lead your own life without anything else around you supporting you in that endeavor. That means really investing heavily into as many things in your life as possible. It means investing into friends, family, your career, hobbies, side projects, investing into martial arts, right? Whatever it is, for the sake of who you become and not for what you get from it, right? Because there are also guys like this who make a lot of money, who get in incredible shape, who are incredibly intelligent, but then they still feel really down about themselves, and they still come across as quite incomplete and insecure. And the reason is, again, because they are investing into these things so that they can get the accolades and results. And then their belief is that once they get those accolades and results, everyone will believe finally that they are worthy. But they did it, again, for other people. They didn't do it for themselves. And so fundamentally, they still feel like they are beneath people trying to prove themselves. We have to break that dynamic entirely. We have to start operating from the position of seeing other people as equal in value to you. And this requires a lot of deep inner work, working through all of these events in your life that have wounded you and scarred you and left you with narratives and beliefs about yourself that are destructive, that are holding you back, that are reaffirming this narrative that you are inadequate as you are. You really want to go through each of those individual experiences and work through the perceptions underlying them and start to derive new meaning from those experiences. There are processes I take my clients through to achieve this, but that's fundamentally how it works. Again, it's not easy, but it's simple to understand at this level. And this isn't about trying to fake it. You can't fake self-worth over the long term, right? You might fake confidence until you get into a relationship. And as soon as you're in that relationship, all of your deepest, darkest insecurities will come to the surface. And then you're back at square one. You are equally as bad off, you're equally as bad off as you were prior. So you can't fake it. And I would strongly recommend that you take the time to do the work to create this sense of wholeness, create this sense of I know who I am and I know where I'm going, and I have complete trust and belief in myself and my direction, that I can lead my own life as well as helping someone else lead theirs, such that this complete life that you have and this complete sense of self that you have is much more attractive as a proposition for someone else to want to step into. Because again, great relationships are two complete people coming together to make their life even more great, just by the very fact that they're both kind of compounding and multiplying each other's completeness, if that makes sense. So that really is it. A bit of a quick one, but if you enjoyed, don't forget to subscribe. I'll leave links down below if you want to work with me one-on-one or check out my Instagram. And with that, I'll see you in the next one.